Listen closely because something about today is not ordinary. You didn't arrive at this moment by accident. And March 31st is not just another date dissolving into time. No, this is a threshold, a dividing line between who you were forced to be and who you are about to become. There is a reason your spirit feels restless, a reason your thoughts have been louder, deeper, almost echoing from somewhere beyond your current reality. This is the day that was waiting for you long before you knew how to wait for it. And before we go further, understand this. When the universe begins to activate your breakthrough, it doesn't just shift your circumstances, it rewires your mind. Because your reality can only rise as far as your internal world allows it. That is why I created something for you, something aligned with this exact moment. An audio book called How to Awaken the Rich Mind Within You. Not just about wealth, but about unlocking the mental frequency that allows abundance, clarity, and power to finally recognize you. Because if you are hearing this right now, then your mind is ready to be elevated beyond limitation. You will find it in the description and in the first pinned comment, not as a suggestion, but as a tool placed in your path at the exact moment you are ready to receive it. And if you feel this message stirring something inside you, then you are not here randomly. You are being called deliberately, precisely. So align yourself with this energy. Comment, "I receive," as a declaration to the unseen forces guiding you, and subscribe not as a routine action, but as a conscious agreement that you are ready to walk forward into what is being revealed. You felt it, haven't you? That pressure building in ways you couldn't explain. The delays, the confusion, the moments where everything seemed to stall right when you thought you were close. That wasn't failure. That was compression. Because before something expands, it must be pressed, refined, purified of everything that cannot survive where you are going. The universe has not been testing you to break you. It has been shaping you to hold what is coming next. And now, as this final day of March unfolds, that pressure begins to shift. Not disappear, but transform into momentum, into movement, into undeniable forward motion. This is where everything starts to make sense, but only if you trust what you cannot yet see. There were moments, real, undeniable moments, where you truly believed you were off track, where it felt like something had slipped beyond your reach, like you had missed a window that would never open again. You replayed decisions. You questioned timing. You wondered if there was something you should have done differently, something you didn't see in time. And in those moments, it felt final. It felt like something had been lost. But what if I told you nothing was ever lost? What if every delay, every pause, every unexpected turn was not misalignment, but a deeper alignment you simply couldn't perceive yet? Because while you were looking at what wasn't happening, something else was happening beneath the surface. While you were focusing on what seemed absent, something unseen was being carefully arranged. Paths were shifting. Timing was adjusting. Connections were aligning in ways that required precision beyond your awareness. And that is why it didn't make sense then, because you were only seeing one layer of the process. Now, as you stand here on this day, something begins to reveal itself. Not fully, not all at once, but enough. Enough for you to feel it. Enough for you to recognize that what once seemed like chaos was actually orchestration. And as this realization settles in, it changes everything. Because now you understand you were never off track. You were being guided through a path that required trust before it revealed its purpose. You woke up today and something was different. Not loud, not obvious, but present. A subtle shift that you couldn't quite explain, yet couldn't ignore either. Maybe it felt like anticipation. Maybe like tension, maybe like a quiet awareness sitting just beneath your thoughts, waiting to be acknowledged. That feeling is not random. It is not imagination. It is activation. Because today carries an energy that is not passive. It is initiating something within you, whether you consciously recognize it or not. And that is why it feels different, because it is. This is not just another day passing by. This is a moment charged with movement, with transition, with a kind of invisible current that is pulling you towards something new. And even if you don't have all the answers, even if you can't fully define what is changing, you can feel it in the way your thoughts are shifting, in the way your awareness is expanding, in the way certain things no longer feel the same as they did before. This is the signal, the indication that something within your reality has begun to move. And the more you lean into it, the more it reveals itself. Because this day was never meant to feel ordinary. It was meant to wake something up inside you. There is a version of you that has reached its limit, not because it failed, but because it fulfilled its purpose. The version of you that accepted less than your worth, that hesitated when your intuition spoke, that questioned yourself even when something inside you already knew. That version carried you through a phase you needed to experience, but it cannot go where you are going next. And that is why you feel this shift so deeply, because something is ending not externally but internally. An identity dissolving, a way of being that no longer fits, and this ending may not feel comfortable. It may feel like uncertainty, like emotional waves that rise without warning, like moments where you don't fully recognize yourself in the same way you used to. But don't resist it, because this is not loss. It is release. You are shedding patterns, beliefs, and limitations that once defined your experience, but no longer define your direction. And as they fall away, something else begins to emerge. Something stronger, something clearer, something aligned with who you are becoming, not who you were conditioned to be. This is not the end of you. This is the emergence of your next level. There was a moment, quiet, almost fleeting, where something inside you spoke. It didn't shout. It didn't demand your attention. It simply appeared gently, like a whisper cutting through the noise. Pay attention. And for a second you felt it. That clarity, that awareness, that knowing, but then it passed. Maybe you questioned it. Maybe you dismissed it. Maybe you told yourself it wasn't important enough to focus on, but it was real and it mattered because that was your signal. The universe doesn't always communicate in ways that are obvious or overwhelming. Sometimes it speaks in frequencies so subtle that only those who are truly aligned can feel them. And you felt it even if you didn't fully understand it at the time. And now that signal is returning, but this time it is stronger, clearer, more persistent. It is no longer something you can easily overlook. It is asking for your awareness again, but with more intensity, more clarity, more presence. This is your confirmation. The moment where what once felt uncertain begins to solidify into something undeniable. Let this settle into you fully. You were never behind, not for a moment. Not in your timing, not in your growth, not in your path. The feeling that you were late, that others were ahead, that you somehow missed your opportunity, that was never truth, it was perception. A distortion that made you question your own journey by comparing it to paths that were never meant to be yours. Because your path was always designed differently, with its own rhythm, its own timing, its own sequence of experiences that could not be rushed or replicated. And now, standing here in this moment, you can begin to see it. How everything has unfolded exactly as it needed to. How even the delays carried purpose. How even the waiting was part of the preparation. You are not catching up to anything. You are not trying to reclaim something lost. You are arriving exactly where you were meant to be at the exact moment you were meant to arrive. And once you truly understand this, something shifts within you. Because the pressure to rush disappears. The need to compare dissolves, and what remains is clarity, presence, alignment. Something is turning. Not dramatically, not loudly, but undeniably. You can feel it in the way your energy responds differently now. The things that once drained you no longer hold the same weight. The thoughts that once spiraled now begin to settle more quickly. The confusion that once lingered now starts to clear, even if only in small moments at first. This is not random. This is a shift, a realignment happening within you that begins to reflect outward. The resistance that once surrounded you is weakening. The blocks that felt permanent are beginning to loosen, and what once seemed impossible is no longer carrying the same certainty. It's changing quietly, steadily, but powerfully. And as this shift continues, you will begin to notice something even more significant. Things start responding to you differently. Opportunities feel closer. Movement feels easier. Clarity feels more accessible. Because this is what happens when your internal state aligns with your external path. The world doesn't change first. You do, and then everything else follows. March is not simply ending, it is closing, like a door that has remained open just long enough for you to pass through everything you needed to experience. And now as it begins to shut, it does something powerful. It seals the lessons into you. Everything you went through this month, whether you understood it in the moment or not, is now becoming part of your foundation. The challenges, the realizations, the emotional waves, the moments of clarity, they are no longer separate experiences. They are integrated into who you are now. And as this portal closes, it does not leave you empty. It leaves you transformed, stronger, more aware, more connected to your intuition than before. You are not stepping out of March the same way you entered it. You are carrying forward something refined, something sharpened, something prepared for what comes next. Because as one portal closes, another begins to open, but only for those who are willing to step forward without hesitation. And you are standing right at that edge. And here you are standing at the threshold, not quite in the old, not fully in the new, but exactly where transformation happens. This is the space where everything feels uncertain and destined at the same time, where fear and excitement exist side by side, where you are asked to trust without full evidence. But this is also where breakthroughs are born, and yours is not just approaching. It is activating right now in ways you may not fully see yet, but will soon feel in undeniable clarity. There is always a moment, silent, almost invisible, right before everything changes. It doesn't arrive with noise or announcement. It arrives like this, subtle, charged, heavy with unseen movement. And you are inside that moment now. This is where timelines begin to split, where old realities lose their grip, where something new starts pressing through the surface of your life. You may not see the full picture yet, but you can feel the shift in your chest, in your thoughts, in the way your awareness has sharpened. This is not anticipation for nothing. This is the signal that something irreversible has begun. Watch closely, because what cannot go with you will begin to fall away. Not gently, not slowly, but with a kind of precision that feels both unsettling and necessary. Relationships may shift, patterns may break, situations that once felt stable may suddenly feel foreign. And in those moments, your instinct may be to hold on, to question, to resist. But listen, this is not destruction. This is clearing. The universe is removing what cannot sustain the frequency you are stepping into. And while it may feel like loss, it is actually protection. It is preparation. It is alignment in motion. You wondered why it felt so heavy, why the emotions came in waves you couldn't control, why the exhaustion wasn't just physical but something deeper, something that touched your spirit. Now you understand. You had to feel the weight so you could recognize the release. You had to experience the contrast so you could fully step into clarity, because a breakthrough without awareness is just another moment. But a breakthrough after depth, after struggle, after questioning, that becomes transformation. That becomes awakening. And that is exactly what is happening within you. Now there is a voice inside you that has been growing stronger, not the voice of fear, not the voice of doubt, but something deeper, quieter, yet more certain. It doesn't argue. It doesn't panic. It simply knows. And lately, it has been getting harder to ignore. That is your intuition rising to the surface, no longer willing to stay buried beneath distractions or uncertainty. And as you stand in this moment, that voice becomes your compass, not the outside noise, not the opinions of others, but that inner knowing that has always been guiding you, even when you questioned it. You can feel it. The way certain things no longer fit the way they used to. Conversations feel different. Environments feel off. Even routines that once comforted you now feel limiting. That is not confusion. That is evolution. You are outgrowing a reality that was never meant to contain your next level. And while it may feel disorienting, it is also confirmation. You are not meant to stay where you have already learned what you needed to learn. You are meant to move, to expand, to step into spaces that reflect who you are becoming, not who you were. This is where many hesitate. This is where doubt tries to return, whispering questions, creating hesitation, pulling your focus back to what feels safe but no longer serves you. This is the test not of strength but of trust. Can you trust what you feel even when you cannot fully see it? Can you move forward even when the path is not completely revealed? Because this moment is not asking for certainty. It is asking for alignment. and alignment requires courage. The kind that chooses faith over fear, even when both are present. The energy shifting around you is not subtle anymore. It is becoming undeniable. You may notice it in synchronicities, in sudden clarity, in opportunities that seem to appear at the exact moment you need them. This is not coincidence. This is response. The universe is beginning to reflect your internal shift back to you in real time. What once felt blocked now begins to open. What once felt distant now begins to approach. And the more you align with this energy, the more it aligns with you. This is the beginning of flow. But understand this, just before a breakthrough, fear often makes one final attempt to pull you back. It may come disguised as logic, as overthinking, as the urge to delay, to wait, to question yourself again. And in that moment, it will feel real, convincing, almost reasonable. But recognize it for what it is. A final echo of the version of you that is no longer leading. You do not need to fight it. You only need to see it clearly. Because once you see it, it loses its power. There is something you have become aware of recently, an opportunity, a truth, a realization that you cannot unsee. And even if you try to ignore it, it will continue to return quietly, pulling your attention back to it. That is not coincidence, that is direction. Because once the universe reveals a door to you, it is not meant to be forgotten. It is meant to be walked through. And now as this day unfolds, that door becomes clearer, closer, more real than it was before. This is the part many miss. The breakthrough is not something that will happen later. It is already happening, not in some distant future, not at some perfect moment, but now. In your awareness, in your energy, in the way you are beginning to see yourself and your path differently. The external shift follows the internal one, and your internal world has already begun to change, which means the external is not far behind. It is aligning, rearranging, preparing to match what has already been activated within you. There are movements happening around you that your eyes cannot track, but your spirit can feel. Conversations you haven't heard yet are already shaping your path. Decisions made by others are quietly aligning in your favor. Timelines are bending, rearranging, intersecting so that what is meant for you can find you without obstruction. This is the orchestration you cannot control, and were never meant to, because your role was never to force the outcome. Your role was to become the version of yourself that could receive it. And now as you stand in this activated moment, those unseen forces are no longer distant. They are drawing closer, preparing to reveal what has been set in motion long before today. Something deeper than circumstances is changing. Your identity itself is evolving. The way you see yourself, the way you respond, the way you carry your energy, it is all shifting into something more grounded, more certain, more aligned. And this is where the real transformation lives. Because once your identity changes, everything else must follow. The old labels you carried no longer fit. The doubts that once defined you no longer hold authority. You are stepping into a self-recognition that cannot be undone. And even if the world around you has not fully caught up yet, it will. It always does. You may notice moments of stillness right now, spaces where things feel quiet, almost paused. Do not mistake this for stagnation. This is the silence before acceleration, the gathering of energy before release. Just like the moment before a wave rises, there is a brief calm that seems almost deceptive. But beneath that calm, power is building, momentum is forming, and when it moves, it will not ask if you are ready. It will carry you forward with it. So do not rush this silence. Stand in it. Feel it because it is preparing you for what comes next. You might feel emotions surfacing without warning. Memories, reflections, even sensations that seem disconnected from the present moment. This is not regression. This is clearing. Your system is releasing what it can no longer carry into your next chapter. And sometimes release does not come quietly. It comes in waves, in moments of intensity that seem to rise out of nowhere. But trust this, nothing is coming up without purpose. Every emotion that surfaces is something leaving. And with every release, you become lighter, clearer, more aligned with what you are stepping into. There is a realization forming inside you, one that shifts the way you interpret everything you have been through. Suddenly, what once felt like setbacks begin to look like preparation. What once felt like rejection begins to feel like redirection. And what once felt like confusion begins to reveal itself as necessary unfolding. This realization is not just intellectual, it is energetic. It settles into your awareness and changes how you move, how you decide, how you trust. And once it fully lands, there is no going back to the way you saw things before. The pull you've been feeling, it's getting stronger. It's no longer something you can push aside or distract yourself from. It follows you through your thoughts, through your quiet moments, through the spaces where you try to return to normal. But something inside you refuses. That is not restlessness. It is calling. And this call is not asking for your comfort. It is asking for your alignment. Because where you are being led requires you to step beyond what is familiar. And the longer you feel this pull, the clearer it becomes. You were never meant to stay where you are. Every transformation reaches a point where something has to give, a moment where the pressure becomes too much for the old structure to hold, and what looks like breaking is actually opening. You may feel like you've reached that edge recently, the point where you can't continue in the same way, where something inside you says enough that is not weakness. That is awakening, because breakthrough does not come from comfort. It comes from the moment you realize you can no longer remain the same, and that moment is here. For something to truly shift, two things must align: timing and readiness. And for a long time, one was present without the other. Either you were ready, but the timing wasn't right, or the timing was there, but you hadn't fully stepped into readiness. But now, both are aligning. That is why this moment feels different. That is why everything feels like it's converging at once, because you are not just ready anymore. The timing has arrived. And when those two forces meet, movement becomes inevitable. Your future is not something distant. It is already forming, already taking shape in ways you cannot fully see yet. The decisions you are making now, the awareness you are stepping into, the shifts happening within you, these are not small changes. They are foundations. They are shaping the reality you are about to step into. And even if it feels uncertain at times, trust this. What is forming is not random. It is aligned. It is intentional. And it is responding directly to who you are becoming. You are standing at the edge now. Not metaphorically, but energetically, spiritually, internally. The old chapter is closing, not slowly, but with finality. And the new one is not waiting in the distance. It is right in front of you. This is the moment where hesitation fades, where clarity replaces confusion, where movement begins. You are no longer preparing, you are entering. And what lies ahead is not something you need to chase. It is something that is already opening to receive you. There is one step, just one, that separates where you have been from where you are about to be. It is not a massive leap, not something dramatic in appearance, but it carries the weight of an entirely new timeline. And what makes it powerful is not its size. It is your decision to take it. Because the moment you move even slightly in alignment with what you now know, everything begins to rearrange around that choice. This is how timelines shift, not through force, but through alignment. And you can feel it now, that quiet knowing that the next move is yours to make. For so long, it felt like something was pushing against you, like no matter how much effort you gave, something unseen held things in place. But that resistance is breaking, not because the world suddenly became easier, but because you are no longer the same person meeting it. The frequency you carry now no longer matches what once blocked you. And because of that, what once resisted you can no longer hold its position. You may notice things beginning to move faster, smoother, with less friction. That is not coincidence. That is the resistance losing its grip. Look back for a moment, not to stay there, but to recognize something important. You have already changed in ways that felt small at the time, in decisions that seemed insignificant, in moments where you chose differently even when it was difficult. Those were not minor shifts. Those were moments of power, and each one brought you closer to this point. You didn't just arrive here, you built your way here. And now that accumulated power is becoming visible not just to you, but in the way reality begins to respond to you. This is not just an opportunity. It is an invitation, and not the kind you can casually ignore or postpone. This is the kind that stays with you, that echoes through your thoughts, that returns no matter how many times you try to push it aside. Because it is not external. It is coming from within you, from the part of you that already knows what you are meant to do, where you are meant to go, who you are meant to become. And now that invitation is no longer asking quietly. It is calling you forward clearly, directly, unmistakably. Feel this moment, because this is the final release. March is closing its grip, not gently but with intention. Everything it held, the lessons, the challenges, the pressure, it is all being released from your field, not erased but integrated. You are not carrying the weight anymore. You are carrying the wisdom. And there is a difference, a powerful difference, because wisdom does not slow you down. It sharpens you. It prepares you. It positions you to move forward with clarity that you did not have before. And now there is space. Can you feel it? That subtle opening where something new begins to breathe. It may feel unfamiliar at first, almost too quiet compared to the intensity you've just moved through. But this is not emptiness. This is expansion. This is the first breath of what is coming next. And what enters this space will not be random. It will be aligned. It will match the version of you that has just been activated. This is where new energy, new opportunities, new connections begin to find you. Watch what happens next. Because reality is about to respond to you in ways it hasn't before. Doors that seemed closed will open with unexpected ease. Conversations will shift in your favor. Opportunities will appear at the exact moment you need them. And while it may feel surprising, understand this. It is not sudden. It is the result of everything that has been building beneath the surface. This is alignment becoming visible. This is the unseen becoming seen. And it is happening because you stayed, because you endured, because you aligned. You are not stepping into what's next as the same person. That version of you no longer exists in the way it once did. You are carrying forward a new identity, one that is more aware, more grounded, more aligned with truth. And this identity does not need validation. It does not need permission. It moves with certainty even when the path is still unfolding. This is who you are now. Not becoming, not trying, but being. And everything that follows will reflect this shift. If you have made it to this moment, hearing these words, feeling this energy, then understand this clearly. You were meant to. This message is not random. It is confirmation. It is alignment. It is the universe meeting you exactly where you are at exactly the right time to remind you of something you were always meant to remember, that you are not lost. You are not behind. You are not uncertain in the way you think you are. You are in position, and everything is unfolding from here. Now listen, this is where you claim it. Not passively, not quietly, but with intention, with awareness, with the full understanding of everything you have just moved through. Your breakthrough is not something you wait for. It is something you step into. And today, March 31st, marks that step. But understand this deeply. Stepping into a new reality requires more than desire. It requires a transformed mind, because the life you are entering cannot be held by the mindset you are leaving behind. And if you felt this entire message resonate within you, if something inside you has been awakening, expanding, recognizing truth, then this is your moment to go further. That is why How to Awaken the Rich Mind Within You was placed in your path, not randomly, but in alignment with this exact shift. This audiobook is not just something you listen to. It is something that begins to reprogram the way you see opportunity, wealth, and your own power. It speaks directly to the part of you that is ready to rise beyond limitation and finally align with abundance. Not someday, but now. You will find it, waiting for you in the description and in the first pinned comment. Not as a distraction, but as a continuation of this activation. A doorway for those who are truly ready to step into the next level of their life with clarity and intention. So align yourself fully. Comment, "I am ready," as your declaration, not to me, but to the universe that has guided you to this moment. And subscribe as your commitment to continue walking this path consciously, intentionally, powerfully, because this is not the end of something. This is the beginning of everything that was waiting for you to arrive.